Today I'm going to be creating a material that dissolves using the material node. Alright, so we are here in a new scene in Blender. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is come out here and change this from Blender Render to Blender Game. And we're also going to go ahead and come over here, click in, open this up, scroll down and change it to Shading GLSL. You might actually want to change this to a save as startup file if you just do the Blender Game Engine. If you just do it normally, you might just want to leave it normally, but that's a great way. If you're just using Blender for the Blender Game Engine, you can just have that all set up by default, so it just makes life a little bit easier for you if you want to do that. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is go ahead and click, drag across here, and we're going to change this from the 3D view to the node editor. I'm going to click in, and that will get rid of that side panel. We're also going to go ahead and come here and change this from solid to textured, and as you can see now we have a much more nice looking shading. Alright, so what we're going to go ahead and do is come over here, of course, and we already have a material on here. If you don't have one, it's really easy to add. Just come here and you see it will be like this, and you click new, and I'm going to call this node, the node material. Alright, so that's what we got. So this is going to be holding all the nodes in it, and then we're going to have other materials doing other stuff inside of it, so you want to make sure you can tell which one is which. And we're going to click this, and this is basically the same as clicking use nodes here. So as you can see, now that we've done that, as you can see here, we have a very basic node set up here. So we're going to create a new material. Now this material here is going to be our main material. So this would just be whatever material your player or whatever you're doing this on is. So in our case, it's just going to be called main material, since we only have one thing we're going to do this on. Main. So this is going to be our main material. Alright. And we're going to go Shift A, input, material, and this one's going to be a new material, and this one's going to be mask. Now you might be asking, why don't we just go ahead and use alpha? Well, right now, just like a lot of stuff in the Blender Game Engine, if I go ahead and enable transparency, you can see down here this is blacked out. I'm not sure why it is, but it is. And if we go ahead and plug one of these in, as you can see, it doesn't change anything. Now this can be animated, and it does work in the viewport, and this value will change in the viewport. Sorry, but it doesn't work in game, so we've got to have another material for the mask for in game. So this is going to be a bit more expensive, because having 3 materials here, this is going to, I believe this will have 3 draw calls. So you're only going to want to do this on very specific objects, say the player or something. Now what you can do is you could use the import camera data, and if you wanted it when you got further away, it would kind of dissolve away and then dissolve back, and when you got close you could do that, and that wouldn't cost anything. It's just having these multiple materials that are going to cost a little bit more on the rasterizer in the game, so you're going to want to make sure that you don't use this everywhere, but this should be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over. Alright, so now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and set up the main system. So basically, when we change this value, which is going to be shadeless, so we just get the diffuse color here, which we can animate. When this is black, we want it to be completely transparent, and when it's white, we want it to be completely not transparent. So we're going to go ahead and set that up. But the way we're going to do it is we don't want it just fading like that. We want it to basically dissolve. So we're going to be using the math node, and we're going to be using the less than. So basically we're going to get like this dissolving effect using a texture. So the darkness and the lightness of the texture, let's say a cloud texture, is going to create that effect. So you'll see it in a second. I'll also show you in the intro like how that looks, but I'm going to quickly go over how to do it now. So we're going to go Shift A, input geometry. Now the reason we add this node is the same as if you come in here and you were to add a new texture, and come in here. It's the same as using this UV coordinates, it's just the node equivalent. So you just plug in this UV coordinates into your node. So we're going to go Shift A, import texture, and we're going to go plug this in. Now one annoying thing right now, and it would be quite nice if they could change it, is to add a texture here, you've got to come over here and create it, and then you've got to kind of open it here. So what we're going to go ahead and do is have create a material here, so we're going to use this one, and we're going to open up a texture, and that texture is going to be an image we're going to create in GIMP. So we're going to go ahead and go over to GIMP, and I'll see you there. Alright, so I'm here in GIMP. Now this should be able to be done in Photoshop, but I don't know how you'll do the same thing. But it's pretty easy to make one of these textures, or you could even make it in Blender with a cloud texture, or I believe it's called the noise texture in Cycles now, so you can do it there as well if you want to create it in Blender. But all you got to do in GIMP is come up here, create a new file. I'm going to make it 400 by 400, and I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to come up here, filter, and then we're going to come down to render, clouds, and then just this top one. So we're going to click that. Now we've got a few settings here. We can make it tileable if we want, which we're going to do. You don't have to, but it's just a bit nicer if you have a big thing, like a big piece of ground, and you just want to have it tile. And here I'm going to change the detail up to a bit. Actually, it depends on how you want it to dissolve, because it's going to kind of go from black to white, the dissolving effect. So how it dissolves out is going to change a bit with the details. So I'm going to go with a nice detail of 3, click OK, click File, Export As, and I'm going to export it as clouds. Alright, so I have gone ahead and exported that, and I'm just going to go ahead in Blender and click open, and I'm going to find that file. Alright, so I have gone ahead and found my file, and I've put it in. So it's just a basic cloud texture, and I'm going to go ahead and come here, and I'm going to select that, and I'm going to go ahead and plug this straight into the color here to see that's working. And as you can see, it's not working. The reason it's not unwrapped, so I'm going to go into edit mode, reset, and that's just going to reset it all around it. So each of these faces is going to cover the whole UV grid. If you had a more complex object, you're going to want to unwrap it differently, or you could use some of these different ones if you wanted different mapping inputs. But this should be fine. Alright. So what we want to go ahead and do is make sure this texture is not on this material here. So we're going to remove that. And we're going to go ahead and go Shift A, and we're going to go Converter Math. We're going to add that in. We're going to go ahead and change this to less than. Then we're going to go ahead and plug this value into here. So now what you'll see is when we change this, you can see we're getting that effect. So it is kind of fading, it's dissolving between them when we change the colors. So the black and the white's going to be, I've forgotten what it is, but white is fully transparent, I think, and black is not transparent. So we can go ahead and play this into here and see that if that actually works. So yeah, wait, black is transparent and white is not transparent. All right. So what we're going to go ahead and do is remove this out of here. We don't need that. We're going to go ahead and plug the color into the color. So as you can see now, it's like a normal material, but it's just dissolving. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is, last of all, this is basically finished. But let's say you want a little effect of like a color. Sorry about that. Let's say you want a little bit of a color around here, like a dissolving effect. This would be for more stylized. So in my case, with my one I created, it was like a little green outline. So if you want to create that, that is pretty easy. What we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to duplicate this down. We're going to go ahead and grab this. We're going to grab this. We're going to plug this into here. And we're going to go ahead and duplicate this. Just plug this into here. So basically when I duplicate this, I'm just using this as a view. No, we'll get rid of it later, but let's see this is working. So we should be getting the same effect. I know we're getting a different effect because this isn't plugged into here, which we're not going to do anyway. Forget what I said, we are going to do that. We're going to plug this in. So as you can see, we've got the same effect here. But basically what we want to do is we want to make this a little bit less. So here, we want it to be like a green outline here. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go Shift A, Math. We're going to add that math in. And we're going to go Submit. And we're going to go 0.01. And what we should see now is if I go ahead and color, mix, and we set this to the factor slot, we can change this to a red. And if we change this, so I believe this might have to be changed to greater than. Yeah, there we go. Now if we change this to something like minus 0.5, minus 0.050, as you can see here now, we have this nice effect of it going around. We can change this color, we can plug something different into here. So if you didn't see what I did, basically we connected this in, we said minus, and then we said submit. So actually we could just change this to add, and then we could go 0.5, so we can do that if you like. I didn't really think about that, but you can. And then you want to go ahead and change this to greater than, and then you want to just go ahead and plug this mask value into this one, and then you plug this into a mix node, and now you can change whatever color you want it to be. So now it's green, and if I am correct, we should let's go ahead and click on this material. You can see, yes, there we go. It shows up when it's changing, but as you can see, when it goes to the full end of it, it disappears. So there we go, it's dissolving away nice and easily. You don't have to have that. You can put like a material here, you could have an animating material, lots of stuff you can plug into here, really whatever you want to do. But since we've gone this far and you're going to want it to use it in your game, I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can do that. So what we're going to go ahead and do is grab our mask material, and we're going to come to the diffuse, and I'm going to change this to pure white. And on frame 0, I'm going to hover over this, and I'm going to click I. And then depending on how long you want this animation to be, so like how fast or slow it is, you're going to move a certain amount of frames. So I want this to be a reasonably slow dissolve. So I'm going to select 100 frames, and I'm going to go I. Oh, sorry, I need to change this to black, and then I'm going to go I, hovering over that, and as you can see now, it changes between it. Now, one thing, if you do actually want to know it in seconds, if you're like, oh, I don't want 100 frames, you can hover over here and go Control T, and that's going to change it into seconds. So that's just a little bit above 4 seconds there. So that's a useful thing to know. So now you can see our material dissolves, and it looks quite nice. As you can see there, it doesn't dissolve for a little while, so you might want to start off with a different color. Not sure why that happens, but anyway, it's not too much of a problem. What we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to come to Game Logic. We're going to go to Textured Mode, and we're going to go ahead and grab our cube or whatever it's added onto. We're going to go Always, Action, going to connect this up, and we're going to select that Mask Anim. So that's just going to be the name of the material, and then it's going to be action, on the end. So this is 100 frames. Now if we press play, what's happening? Nothing's happening. Well, the problem with Blender right now, and another problem it has in the BGE, because the BGE doesn't get many updates, is that it's got weird updating when you do stuff like this. So the way you can fix that is I'm going to go ahead and grab a vertex. I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to move it to the center or anywhere you like. Then we're going to add a new material, and this is going to be our mask material. Then we're going to assign this to that vertex. Assign it to that vertex. And play it. So let me just quickly check this. So yes, the animation is actually playing. That's what we want to go ahead and do. So let me check that again. Sorry about this. I just sometimes hard to see if this is working. No, so it does actually have to be like a thing you can see. So just make like a little triangle or something inside, or somewhere you can't see. And then you're going to press play. Now you should see it dissolves perfectly. You can put this like miles in the sky where you're never going to see it. But as you can see now, it is working and it looks quite nice. And if you map this differently and use a different texture, it's going to change differently, different colors. If you had like the green stuff, in this case animated or something, you could create really cool stuff. But hopefully this has been useful. The other day I just found out how to do this and I thought, oh man, that's actually pretty cool. So I thought I'd go ahead and make a tutorial. But if you did like this tutorial and you want to see tutorials on other subjects, I do come out with a new tutorial almost every single week. So you can go ahead and subscribe and see those when they come out. But other than that, have a great week, keep blendering and make something cool with Blender.